The fundamental delusion is this: you believe people love you. Machiavelli's doctrine reveals a starker reality. Their love is a costume, their loyalty a fleeting mask, and their underlying hatred the single, enduring truth. If you aspire to rule, to lead, or simply to thrive without being consumed by the relentless fire of envy, you must first comprehend the source of this hatred and, crucially, learn to turn it into your most potent weapon. You navigate a world awash in smiles and affirmations, foolishly investing faith in goodwill and genuine friendship. Yet behind the veil of civility lies a darker, more volatile current. They despise you. Every man is a wolf to another, and enduring hatred is the true currency of survival. Today we tear away the gentle illusions and confront the stark question: why does everyone secretly hate you? Picture the scene. You enter a room greeted by nodding heads and warm expressions made to feel like the most welcome soul. But look deeper. Behind those eyes, a different impulse stirs. It is not affection. It is not devotion. It is not even genuine admiration. It is fear and raw ambition. This is the unvarnished face of human nature. Regardless of refined words or polished manners, men and women operate from one singular engine: their own self-interest. To believe otherwise is to be already defeated, having entered the game blind to its ruthless rules. When you achieve success, when you ascend, when you claim what remains unreachable to others, they will hate you for it. They may applaud your victories, but that applause is an empty ritual, a mere disguise concealing the venom of their personal defeat. The ovation is not a tribute to your greatness. It is a shield to mask their profound resentment. The silent question echoes, why him? Why her? Why not me? With every gain in strength, wealth, or confidence, they feel their own stature diminish in your presence. And man, being a creature of pride, cannot forgive you for exposing his own weakness. Be vigilant against honeyed words. The friend who praises your success today may secretly pray for your collapse tomorrow. The neighbor who admires your fortune harbors an envy far greater than he admits. Even the ally fighting beside you dreams of the moment he might finally seize your place. To expect unconditional love from men is to demand the wolf graze on grass or the hawk ignore the prey. It is an expectation destined to fail. Hatred is not an anomaly born of extreme conditions. Hatred is the natural state of mankind when confronted with the success of a peer. Men are not born with generosity of spirit. They are born with insatiable desire. Every man desires more. More recognition, more power, more wealth. And if you obstruct that desire, even by the mere fact of your superior existence, you become an object of scorn. If you are richer, you insult the poor without uttering a sound. If you are stronger, you remind the weak of their deep fragility. If you are wiser, you humiliate the fool even with the kindest speech. Your very excellence is the offense, and for this men will despise you. Silently, secretly, endlessly. Examine history. This truth is relentlessly repeated. The great figures are never loved without strings attached. Caesar was hated by the Senate not for weakness but for unassailable power. Alexander was envied not for failure but for succeeding too spectacularly. Even the prophets, the virtuous men of vision, were scorned, not for wickedness but because their inherent greatness exposed the pettiness of the masses. If the most extraordinary figures in history met hatred, why would you believe yourself immune? Grasp this. The hearts of men are governed not by gratitude but by gain. They profess love when you serve them, when you yield to their needs, when your presence amplifies their lives. But the instant you cease to be useful, the moment you fail to provide what they covet, their love vanishes like smoke. Gratitude is fleeting. It is drowned by the relentless tide of new ambitions, new fears, and new desires. Hatred, however, is constant. It lurks in the shadows of envy, patiently awaiting its opportunity. And here lies the most brutal irony. Even if you execute every action flawlessly, if you are kind, generous, and fair, hatred will still cling to you. Why? Because your very kindness becomes a weapon. The man you help feels small compared to you. The hand that gives remains perpetually above the hand that receives, and men resent the very notion of subordination. Thus, even within charity, you cultivate hatred. Even in your fairness, you breed resentment. The brighter you shine, the deeper their own shadows fall, and the more their hearts darken against you. Therefore, do not be surprised when you feel the sting of hidden contempt. Do not be shocked when those who once smiled suddenly reveal their fangs. This is not betrayal. It is not an exception. It is the natural law of mankind. They act not from affection but from self-interest. And when your success threatens their pride, when your confidence diminishes their self-worth, when your ambition leaves them far behind, they will despise you for it. They may not speak it aloud. They may not act upon it immediately, but the hatred is there, simmering, waiting, feeding upon its own venom. The man who truly comprehends this will never be blindsided. He will know that every compliment is tainted with envy. Every handshake conceals a calculation, and every ally carries within him the seed of hatred, ready to germinate when the soil of opportunity is ripe. Human nature cannot be trusted to love without motive. It can only be relied upon to serve its own ends. And when your existence disrupts those ends, you will witness the unmasked face of humanity. Observe the people around you intently, your friends, your allies, your companions. They laugh with you. They toast your achievements. They pat your back with affected warmth and speak words dipped in honey. But you must understand that these gestures are not always born of devotion. They are carefully crafted masks designed to conceal what truly festers within their hearts. For behind every smile may linger envy, and beneath every handshake may fester resentment. This is the grand deception of human interaction. Men rarely display their true emotions. To exist in society, they adopt masks, masks of respect, masks of devotion, masks of friendship. They must, for open hatred is too costly, too dangerous, and too revealing. If your supposed friend despises you, if he resents your power or envies your fortune, he will not announce it. No, he will bury it beneath the mask of civility, knowing that an open strike risks his own ruin. The dagger is never waved in the sunlight. It is hidden beneath the cloak, awaiting the optimal moment to pierce. Think of the person who showers you with praise. Does he compliment you because he loves you? Or does he praise you to disguise the bitterness that gnaws at him with every one of your successes? His words are not a window to truth, but a strategic smokescreen. Men flatter those they secretly envy, for flattery buys them proximity, and proximity buys them opportunity. By feigning affection, they deflect suspicion, all the while nursing the hatred that grows silent and strong. And consider the friend who rushes to celebrate your victories. Scrutinize him closely, for while he raises his glass and proclaims joy for your fortune in his heart, he is tallying what he has lost. Your ascent is perceived as his decline. Your brightness inevitably dims his light. Every rung you climb on the ladder of success pushes him further into the shade. Do you truly believe he doesn't feel the crushing weight of comparison pressing down on his pride? He will never articulate it. But his silence after the applause, his thoughts in the darkness betray his true nature. Men do not merely hate their enemies. They often hate their companions more, for their companions are close enough to provide a daily, inescapable reminder of their own deficiencies. The wealth or strength of a stranger is tolerable. It is distant, abstract, almost unreal. But the success of a friend, the fortune of a neighbor, the power of a colleague, these are like knives pressing against the skin. The close proximity of another's greatness makes men profoundly restless, and restlessness ripens into deep-seated resentment. Thus they embrace, they smile, they nod, but behind the mask their hearts silently burn. This is why you must never take friendship at face value. Words of loyalty are insignificant. Loyalty is often a carefully managed performance. Men act out the role of devotion because it serves their immediate necessities. They declare, "I am with you," because it provides advantage, protection, or shelter. But in their secret deliberations, they plot how they might surpass you, how they might inherit your position, how they might rise should you fall. Friendship is too frequently a mask worn to conceal ruthless ambition. Consider the courtier kneeling before the prince, declaring eternal service. Does he do this out of love? No, he kneels because the prince holds power and proximity to power is profitable. That very courtier, stripped of the prince's throne, would not kneel at all. He would redirect his devotion to the new master, the ascending star. What was once loyalty would dissipate like morning mist. So it is with every proclaimed friend. They love not you, but what they gain by standing near you. Even in moments of deep intimacy, when bonds seem unbreakable and secrets are shared, be wary. For the man who knows your secrets wields a weapon, and men cannot resist the temptation to deploy it when it serves their paramount interest. What you confess and trust today may be used against you tomorrow, when ambition outweighs affection. The mask of friendship is not merely a disguise of words, but a tool, a strategy to accumulate knowledge and power, a deliberate preparation for the moment when betrayal becomes convenient. Do not mistake this for cynicism. It is the brutal truth verified by history. How many monarchs were betrayed not by external enemies but by their most trusted confidants? How many generals were abandoned by those they called brothers? How many great men perished not by the sword of a foe but by the hand of a friend? The truth is harsh yet undeniable. Those who stand closest to you, those who embrace you most tightly, are often the very ones who silently scheme your downfall. The mask of friendship is a necessity because open hatred is too revealing too soon. So men conceal themselves behind courtesy, behind the theater of loyalty. They speak what you desire to hear. They act as you wish them to act. All the while they guard their true feelings like a soldier concealing his blade beneath his cloak. If you fail to perceive this reality, if you trust blindly in the masks they wear, then you are destined to be destroyed, not by your declared enemies, but by those who pretended to love you most profoundly. Power is a fire. It warms you, illuminates your path, and shields you from the cold. But to everyone else who cannot share its heat, it scorches their pride and burns their eyes. When you possess power, whether it's influence, wealth, status, or beauty, you awaken a force in others more lethal than open hostility: resentment. This resentment flourishes not because you have actively wronged them, but because your very existence is an unwelcome reminder of their own lack. Consider the man who witnesses you commanding respect. He may bow his head, he may act submissive, but inwardly, he feels the heavy weight of humiliation. Why does the world yield to you and not to him? Why do men listen when you speak while his voice is drowned out? He cannot tolerate the reality that you stand above him, so his heart twists with silent, profound hatred. He will never display this openly, for outright opposition would invite ruin, but in the secrecy of his mind, he resents you with every breath he takes. Understand this: the higher you climb, the more enemies you generate, not because you have harmed them directly, but because you expose them. Your influence reminds them of their obscurity. Your wealth highlights their poverty. Your confidence magnifies their insecurity. The crown on your head is not just a symbol of your achievement, it is a mirror reflecting their failures back to them. And men will never forgive those who force them to face their own weakness. Even if you distribute your power with exemplary generosity, resentment will still pursue you. If you grant wealth, those who received insufficient amounts will curse you silently. If you bestow favors, those who were excluded will despise you. If you elevate one person above the rest, the others will whisper in jealousy. No matter how meticulously you attempt to balance the scales, resentment clings to power like a shadow. For power, by its fundamental nature, cannot be shared equally, and inequality is the seed from which all hatred grows. History itself bears witness to this law. The great rulers were not hated solely for their cruelty, but for their dominion, their success, their ability to transcend the masses. Consider Caesar, who returned to Rome cloaked in unparalleled glory. The common people cheered, but the senators recoiled. They veiled their resentment in the language of liberty and justice, but beneath it lay fear, humiliation, and deep envy. His greatness was their personal insult, and they chose the daggers of assassins over submission. Consider Napoleon, admired for his strategic genius, yet despised by the kings who could not match his brilliance. His victories were not celebrated by his peers, but cursed, for each triumph diminished their own worth. This fate is not reserved solely for emperors. In every stratum of life, the powerful draw resentment. The successful merchant is loathed by rivals who wither in his shadow. The eloquent speaker is envied by those whose words fall flat. The beautiful woman is envied by those who cannot rival her radiance. Power is not just armies and crowns. It is any advantage that elevates one man above another, and wherever that advantage exists, resentment trails it like a faithful retainer. This is why the powerful must never be naive. If you believe admiration is pure, you fundamentally misunderstand mankind. Admiration is often admiration poisoned with envy. Praise may sound harmonious, but beneath it lies bitterness. They may cheer for your achievement, but in their hearts they long fiercely for your defeat, because your triumph is their acute humiliation. The more you rise, the deeper and more acrid that resentment becomes. The great paradox of power is this: men desperately desire it, yet they despise those who possess it. They will bow to your authority because they must, not because they wish to. They will obey your command out of necessity, not devotion. Their obedience is not a gift of love, but a survival instinct. The moment they feel sufficiently strong to challenge you, the mask of loyalty will shatter, instantly revealing the deep-seated resentment that has always been present. This is why those who rule must be wary. not primarily of their declared enemies, but of their closest subjects. The enemy outside your fortress hates you openly and can be faced. The subjects within your reach, the companions who flatter and smile, carry resentment in lethal silence, and silence is far more dangerous. A man who resents you waits, calculates, and studies. He conceals his true intentions until the moment arrives when your guard is lowered, and then he will strike. Even in the most trivial matters, resentment is inescapable. The student who excels is despised by his classmates. The worker who is promoted is whispered about by his peers. The leader who earns trust is undermined by his rivals. Every advantage breeds envy, and envy irrevocably ripens into hatred. This cycle cannot be prevented. It can only be managed. For to hold power is to inherently invite resentment, and to pretend otherwise is to walk blindly into ruin. So, when you rise, when you claim what others cannot, know that their hearts are turning against you, even as their mouths praise you. Their clapping hands conceal clenched fists. Their bows conceal curses. Their smiles conceal teeth sharpened with jealousy. Power is the throne upon which resentment kneels, and though it kneels, it never forgets. It never forgives. It never ceases to multiply. When a person holds authority, they must ask the question older than kingdoms and sharper than any sword. Is it better to be loved or to be feared? Many leaders, many ordinary men, desperately cling to the idea that love is sufficient, that loyalty and affection born of warmth will bind others to them perpetually. But love is a fragile bond. It breaks under duress. It fades the moment it is no longer profitable. It withers in the face of overriding ambition. Fear, however, endures. Fear compels obedience even after all affection has long evaporated. Yet there is a perilous balance that must be maintained. For hatred is inevitably born when fear is not tempered with wisdom. Think of those who claim to love you. Their love is conditional. They love you when you benefit them, when you provide what they desire. Remove those benefits, deny them their comfort, and observe how swiftly that love devolves into bitterness. Gratitude is notoriously short-lived in the hearts of men. 1,000 favors can be utterly forgotten the moment a single request is denied. Love is fundamentally dependent on pleasure, and pleasure is fleeting. You cannot build your survival upon such a mercurial foundation. Fear, conversely, requires no constant generosity, no endless gifts. Fear embeds itself in the mind. It roots itself in the heart, and it does not fade with passing whims. The man who fears you obeys not because he wishes to, but because he dares not do otherwise. He measures every word, every step, knowing the severe consequences of defiance. Fear is the chain that secures loyalty when affection fails. It is the weapon that guarantees obedience even when admiration is completely absent. However, you must grasp this critical nuance. Fear alone is not enough. If a man fears you without respecting you, his fear will fester into vengeful hatred. If a ruler governs solely through cruelty, he is perpetually sharpening daggers against his own back. But if fear is joined with awe, with the respect of formidable strength, then hatred cannot easily find its purchase. A wise person ensures that they are feared in a manner that commands respect for their power, but does not inspire contempt for their rule. For when men fear your strength, they hesitate. When they hate your cruelty, they actively conspire. Consider the prince who rules solely by affection. He is merciful, generous, and adored by his subjects. But when an antagonist emerges, when fortune shifts against him, his subjects instantly scatter. Love will not save him when danger arrives. For love does not carry the weight of sacrifice. Men will cheer for him in peace, but abandon him in war. They will sing his praises when the sun shines, but leave him to die when the storms break. To be loved is enjoyable, but to be feared is absolutely necessary. Yet there is a subtle art to cultivating fear. You must not be careless. Excessive cruelty breeds active rebellion. Men must not be driven to utter despair, for despair gives birth to reckless courage. The wise leader strikes decisively, punishes carefully, but avoids endless torment. He ensures that fear remains a constant presence, yet not an unbearable burden. Like a shadow, it must trail every man, reminding him of the consequences of disobedience without completely consuming him. Look to history. This principle is etched into its very foundations. Leaders who sought only affection often fell, betrayed by those who once swore devotion. Leaders who inspired fear, carefully balanced with respect, endured far longer, for their enemies hesitated and their subjects obeyed even in the absence of affection. Men may admire kindness, but they bow before power. They may smile at love, but they tremble at fear. And in the game of survival, trembling is a far stronger guarantee than smiling. Even in the smallest circles of life, the same truth applies. A father who seeks only love risks forfeiting his children's respect. A teacher who relies solely on kindness risks losing control of the classroom. A leader who demands only affection risks being mocked behind his back. But the one who commands respect through firmness, discipline, and the careful balance of fear secures an authority that affection alone could never grant. For love is optional, but fear is unavoidable. Men are volatile in their affections, but steadfast in their fears. They may forget your kindness, but they will not forget your strength. They may betray a man they love if it serves their interest, but they will hesitate to betray a man they fear, for the cost is too severe. This is the reality of human nature. Love is a luxury. Fear is a necessity. A wise man does not reject love when it presents itself, but he does not rely on it. He builds his foundation upon fear. If love is added, it is a decoration, not the cornerstone. So when you hold authority, when you rise, do not ask whether men love you. Ask whether they fear to cross you. Do not squander your strength chasing the fleeting affections of the crowd, for the crowd will turn on you as quickly as the wind shifts direction. Instead, anchor yourself in the single force that endures beyond gratitude and beyond desire, the power of calculated fear. You must accept the truth. No matter how virtuous you believe yourself to be, no matter how carefully you walk, you cannot escape the fate of being hated. To exist with vision, with strength, with ambition, is to actively summon enemies from the shadows. You may strive for peace. You may strive for fairness. But hatred will not simply vanish because you choose kindness. Hatred is not always the child of cruelty. More often, it is the inescapable price of significance. If you are nothing, you are ignored. If you are something, you are despised. This is the law that no man transcends. Consider the person who strives for goodness, speaks with honesty, and acts with justice. You might assume such a person would be free of enemies, loved for their purity. But what is the reality? The corrupt hate him for exposing their corruption. The liars hate him for reminding them of their deceit. The unjust despise him because his fairness condemns their theft. His very virtue creates opposition, for it shines a light that forces others to confront their own darkness. A virtuous man is hated by the wicked, just as a wicked man is hated by the virtuous. No man can walk the earth without being despised by one faction or another. And what of the one who seeks greatness? The ambitious, the successful, the strong, his enemies multiply with every step of his ascent. Those beneath him envy his fortune. Those beside him resent his progress. Those above him fear his rise. The higher he climbs, the more arrows are aimed at his back. Success is not a shield. It is a beacon that calls hatred from every corner. If he remains weak, men despise him. If he becomes strong, men despise him. To move at all is to stir opposition. To stand out is to invite hatred. Even silence, even withdrawal does not fully protect a person from enemies. If you speak little, they will brand you as proud. If you live humbly, they will call you false. If you keep to yourself, they will label you secretive, dangerous, and untrustworthy. Men invent reasons to despise those they cannot control. If no logical reason is found, they will simply create one. Hatred demands little justification. It grows rapidly from the fertile soil of suspicion, fear, and envy, and these elements never run dry. Do not think that hatred is exclusively personal. Entire groups, movements, and nations are built upon the hatred of the other. To declare loyalty to one side is to instantly declare enmity with another. Even neutrality breeds contempt, for men despise those who refuse to choose, those who stand in the middle as though they are untouchable. To live among men is to be irrevocably marked by opposition, whether you desire it or not. You may attempt to hide, but you cannot erase the lines that hatred draws around you. This is why it is foolish to pursue universal affection. It is an illusion. The leader who attempts to please all satisfies none. The ruler who strives to placate every subject ends up despised by everyone, for in giving to one he must inevitably take from another. The friend who attempts to agree with every companion ends up trusted by no one, for his words shift like sand. Love cannot be universal, but hatred is eternal. The wise man accepts this and does not exhaust his strength trying to evade it. Enemies, therefore, are not a curse. They are a necessity. They are the verifiable proof that you matter, the proof that you possess weight in the world. The man without enemies is the man without influence. so insignificant that no one cares enough to oppose him. To be hated is to be visible, envied, and feared. Hatred is the shadow that must follow greatness. And if greatness is your ambition, you must learn to carry its shadow without trembling. Recall history once more. Every figure of genuine importance carried enemies with them like a second cloak. Caesar, betrayed by men he once trusted. Socrates, condemned by those who could not bear his wisdom. Christ himself, despised by those whose authority he challenged. These men were not hated because they were weak. They were hated because they were strong, because their influence and their actions shook the very foundations upon which others stood. Their enemies were inevitable because their influence was inescapable. And so it is with you. Whether you rise through ambition, power, or virtue, hatred will cling to you. It will not always roar openly. Often it whispers in the dark, waits in lethal silence, and wears the mask of friendship until the moment of betrayal is ripe. But it is always there, circling you, testing you, feeding upon your very presence. You may not perceive it. You may not feel it immediately. But hatred is patient. It waits for the right hour. The wise man does not waste his life wishing to be free of enemies. He does not dream of universal love, for he knows it is an illusion. Instead, he studies his enemies, measures their strength, and learns to bend hatred into a practical weapon. For to be hated is to be keenly alive in the eyes of others, and to be alive in their eyes is to hold a subtle, dangerous power. Hatred is inevitable, but inevitability need not be your ruin. It is the very recognition that you cannot escape it that makes you fundamentally stronger than those who still dream of being loved by all. Now you have seen the brutal truth laid bare. Men are not bound to you by love, but by their own relentless desires. They smile through masks. They resent your power. They envy your success, and they cannot avoid hating you. To rise in this world is to summon enemies, and to pursue universal affection is to chase a shadow that simply does not exist. But hatred is not your downfall unless you allow it to be. Hatred is proof that you disturb the comfort of others, proof that you matter, proof that you stand defiantly above the crowd. Do not fear it. Do not flee from it. Accept it as the natural price of influence, for in the end it is not love that keeps you safe, nor kindness that secures your place, but the sheer strength to master hatred, to recognize it, to endure it, and to wield it as the true measure of your power.